All right. Good morning. Hello. Happy Monday. Don't know how to say that in different languages, so happy Monday. Welcome back to Planning for Profit. We are on day 6. So I'm, in a way, I'm somewhat glad that this isn't a two-way conversation, because I'm going to ask you how your weekend went, how you're calculating for your direct sales went. Hopefully that went okay for you, your phase 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as breaking that out for each product or service that you offer. I heard from some of you, so again, thank you for the courage to ask the questions. I hope I was able to respond to those questions as they came up. Just a couple of, highlights from the questions in case anyone was asking them as well. If you do not have things for you that come up in phase 1, phase 2, phase 4, right? Don't feel like you need to come up with costs if they're not there. So this is just simply for you. Again, the first part of that exercise was for you to determine exactly what you are out of pocket to be able to offer that product or service. One of the other questions that came up rather consistently over the course of the weekend is trying to figure out exactly what costs to put in there. So again, just remember, these are costs that are assigned to that product or service being sold. So we're just speaking with one member on the call right now, that if your utility bills start to go up specifically, they're in direct proportion to that service or product being offered, put it in there. I was sharing with you the example of a customer or client that I worked with last year that had a business that did hydrotherapy. We had to account for water. It wasn't just her filling up her coffee pot every morning. There were gallons of water that were going out with each service specifically. So we did account for it in our costs, which completely changed her whole entire pricing strategy, because she realized she wouldn't have been out that water had she had not performed that service. So again, I just want you to think in terms of, is that expense directly attributed to the product or service being sold? Even if we've accounted for it in operating, because I want you to see what you're out of pocket. That was number one. That was the first reason why this is so important, because when businesses are losing money, it is typically in this bucket of cost of goods and their pricing strategy. So that's why we do the work. Okay, as always, after this call, I am going to unmute you all, and you can ask all your questions, even if they pertain to the weekend. I just want to send out another reminder. I did get some questions over the weekend with respect to the equipment sheet and the template. So I sent a revised one out with your email last week. Do not use the one that is embedded in the worksheets, the Planning for Profit worksheets, Plan to Profit worksheets. I have to revise that, so the new one was attached. And then I also realized I had a little bit of a glitch last week, and that was that I think in one of my subject lines, and I forget who pointed that out, so thank you. It looked like I didn't send a day 3, and maybe you've already caught this, is because I sent out 2 day 2s. So one of the day 2s is actually April 10th. Yeah, it should be day 3. So it's brand new content in the email, but just so you know, if you ever go back looking for, oh, what did we cover on day 3 again? It's actually listed as day 2. So that's in there for you. Okay, that's it for housekeeping. So let's get this party started. Today, as you know, here we are day 6, we're week 2, we're halfway through. And today's actually another eye-opener, and definitely a lot lighter for you. I think it's lighter, but it's an interesting one, because a lot of people are trying to figure out their pricing strategy. So what you will have uncovered, again, last week, hopefully you did the exercise, direct costs for each product and service, or at least for your big ones, right? Ideally 2, 3, if you had to do them for a few more. I would love to hear from you if you want to weigh in on social media, or if you want to send me an email. I would love to hear if it influenced your price, right? Or if your price is going to need to be adjusted, because at the end of that exercise, you may have said, oh, this costs us a lot more than we originally thought. We need to do something with our price. Or if you're actually sitting pretty pretty, right? Wherever that sits for you. So I would love to hear from you as to what happened through those exercises. So here's the thing, if you did those exercises and now you're like, you know what, we actually really need to be charging more than what we're currently charging, then this is why this one is so important for you. I can tell you in my experience right now, 95%, I don't know where I'm coming up with that number, to be honest with you, but definitely 9 times out of 10, I think maybe once or twice somebody's been able to answer comprehensively for me. But most of us get our pricing strategy from what our competitors are charging, right? What is the competition charging? And then we try to kind of align with that and go, well, I can't afford to charge more, otherwise nobody's going to do business with me. So this, if you have been saying that to yourself, this again is another really important reason why we're going to do the weighted pricing model. Again, just like direct costs, we are going to do the weighted pricing model for each product and service. So this isn't for your business overall. This, you have to do this sheet for each one. I'm going to recommend that you print it off and start sketching out ideas and thoughts and numbers as you go through it. So I'd like to walk you through it. First, I'm going to walk you through the template, and then I'm going to walk you through a demo. So here, you're going to be writing out what product or service are you actually weighing, right? Are you evaluating in this exercise? And then put in your current price. And so even if it's for a project, right, we talked about breaking out your projects with respect to small, medium, large. We talked about specific products or services, if they're bundled, if they're hourly. So however you're doing this, again, make sure that it's in alignment here. So what your asking price is, and or if there's a wage, right? So, sorry, not a wage, a range. Take your average, right, and put that in here. So current asking price, throw that in. Now, here, step one, you don't need to worry too much about asking price because you'll see it probably fluctuate at the end. But it's interesting to kind of see where you end up with this whole exercise. So step one is I want you to go out there and I want you to list your competitors. So you can do both direct and indirect. So direct competitors are those competitors that are pretty much selling exactly what you're selling. It's the same product and service, primarily product or service. Very, very similar, right? So when a customer is saying, oh, I'd like to go get my hair done, they go, okay, I've got salon A, salon B, salon C, and maybe salon D, whatever that may be. So those would be your direct competitors. I didn't think about this before I started speaking, so let's see if I can figure out an indirect competitor. So an indirect competitor to getting our hair done, let's say that we're doing a color. A color might be, it's a home kit, right? It's a do-it-yourself job. So that might be a good example of indirect competition for hair color. Indirect competition for haircut, maybe people might do it themselves at home, or they might get, if you're doing kids haircuts, it might be mom and dad. Indirect competition might also be, you know, if you are a premier salon, you might say, okay, well, someone has the opportunity to, you know, to go to a Magic Cuts or an Ultra Cuts or whatnot. That might be an example of indirect too, right? So just start throwing all of these thoughts down. So you put in your competitor, you put in their product name or their service, right? And the features and benefits of those product and service. This doesn't need to be lengthy, you know, maybe 3 to 5 points for each one at most, especially with your direct competition. Write down what it is that they're really selling. What is the solution that they're selling? Is it, you know, Paramount service? Is it that it's in and out with respect to time, right? Is it that their color product is from Italy and they have different shades? I don't know, right? But you write it down. Write down what's going on here, and then write down the price that they typically sell it at, even if there's averages there. So that's probably the most, that's probably going to take you the most amount of time for each one of these products and services, is for you to get a handle on your competitors and what they're offering, and not only the product or service, but what is that value add that they're saying that they give. Again, you know, time, quality, not necessarily price, right? Color selection, whatever that may be. But you'll notice it's interesting. Every time I do this exercise with the client, this is a really good little side exercise for you. If you go on to the competitors' websites, and actually this is where you go to 5 or 6 websites. So get your competitors' email or web addresses and start checking, and then start going to even other competitors and other markets, whatever that may look like. You are going to start seeing a theme emerge over and over and over and over and over again when it comes to what your competitors actually say that they're selling. And I'll tell you, most of the time, people talk about quality, they talk about service, and they talk about price. And then I meet with a client and they're like, well, we're very, very different. We offer exceptional service. We've got the best quality and we've got the best price. I'm like, you go on your competitors' websites, you're going to see that everyone's saying the exact same thing. You have to say something different, especially if you want to charge a different price. So that's called a unique selling proposition. Now we're getting into marketing, but it's a very interesting element that we can start looking at when we get into our marketing mix at the end of the week. So you can, again, it's important to know what they're selling outside of the product and service here so that you can be different to them as we start moving forward. Okay, now the second piece is the decision-making criteria of your template. I'm going to, basically what I'm asking you to do here is, how does a customer, what a customer's thought process and decision process that they are going to go through to determine as to whether or not they are going to do business with you. So a lot of businesses, they're quite similar in many respects to what this criteria is. I'm going to give you some examples after I go through my next example. You can tweak and tailor and modify all you want, but I want you to put yourself into the mindset of your client and think about, you know, what are the top 5 to 6 pieces of information that they're starting to evaluate as to whether or not they're going to do business with me. And this is not about price. It's never about price. So I want you to think about some other things, and I'm going to give you again some tips here at the end. Now, the next thing you're going to do here is, once you determine that criteria, over here, you're going to score yourself. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if we say that under hair, let's say it's the experience, like we want a really solid individual artist that's experienced with this specific color, and you say experience is really important, you're going to have to score yourself as a company or as a practitioner as to how much experience do you really have. 1 is weak and 1 very weak, 5 very strong. So you figure out on this scale where you are. Nobody's going to see this but you. So I need you to be honest about it, because there's other areas you're going to see if when you score yourself, if you have been charging too much because you're out of alignment, it shows you what areas you need to start strengthening. Again, based on your perception of what the customer's asking. So you might want to go do some polls to say, are these the right criteria before you start adjusting everything? But intuitively, I think we have a pretty good idea with what customers start asking. And this is a good tip for you, because if you, in all of your sales calls before, hopefully, and if you haven't, you're going to have to start recalling them, but customers typically will ask you very specific questions around getting to that yes, right? For you to get to that yes, they tend to ask you questions. Can you recall what those questions are? Because that helps you to determine what that decision criteria will be in this exercise. And we're going to add up your scores. We're going to divide it by the number of pieces of criteria that you used, and we're going to get a score. And then the weighted piece comes down here. So what you're going to do is, on the low side, so down here is your competitors' numbers. So the lowest price that your competitor is charging, all the way up to the highest price that your competitor is charging. And then based on your score, you are going to see where you fit. Isn't that cool? And then what comes out of this exercise is, as you start saying, okay, well, I'm a 4 here and I'm a 3 here and I'm a whatever it is, these are, as it pertains to the criteria, you're going to come up with, it's really important for me to be able to share this piece of information with the customer, because that defends my 4 score, right? So then when it comes to defending your price and why you're probably charging more than your competitors, this allows you to be able to do that concisely, succinctly. It all kind of comes together for you. So it's a nice tight message, instead of just going on and on and on about why you're not charging more. Oh, because I did plan to profit and I need to charge more, so my profit goes up. We don't want to use that language. Okay, so now that I've done that, I just want to take you over to an example, because examples tend to resonate a little bit better, I think, when you can see it all come together. Okay, so let's use this one. This is a client. Let's say it's a kids entertainment center, entertainment facility where they get to drop in, and there's different games and structures and whatnot, inflatables that these kids can actually start to play with. So the product being weighted, although they do rentals and although they do birthday parties, we are going to look specifically at a drop-in visit. So that's the product that that's being weighted here. Their current asking price is $9, and actually, sorry, it's not $9 per hour, it's $9 per session, per drop-in day, right? So they can stay as long as they want. I should clarify that. Per visit, let's do that. Okay, they can stay as long as they want. And yeah, they can use any piece of equipment that they want. So here we get into all the different competition that's out there. There's company AQ here, there's Flynn's, CJ's, Fun Factory, Apex. Some of you might be familiar with some of these companies. And so they put the company's name down here. They put the product, right? So company A has inflatables. They've got a racetrack. They've got a climbing wall. They've got a zip line. Flynn's and CJ's has a static play structure. They have a canteen. They have accessories like little cars you can drive around in. Fun Factory, a static play structure, canteen, accessories again. Apex, trampolines all over the place. They've got an area where they've got inflatables, so that you can pull out different play games there, and I believe they rotate those games every month. They have sport areas for hoops and for other games there. They've got a single unit trampoline where you can jump really, really high without hurting other people. They've got a climbing, not apprentice, apparatus here. You can tell I whipped this up before we started our call. And then they've, here under Clip and Climb, it's fixed climbing walls with different levels of difficulty. So again, depending on how well you know your competition, this can be very fast, or this can take you a little bit of time to figure this out, depending on how much effort you've put into this in the past. Then over here, we've got the prices, right? So $10 to $25. This one is actually based on the age of the participant and the activity that they want to do. So if you're on the racetrack, I think, you know, adults can be as high as $35. So this price might need to be adjusted here a little bit, but we were looking at it from a kids audience specifically. So we did 10 to 25. Here it's $11. Fun Factory's 10. Apex is 27. And Clip and Climb is actually $20 per hour. So these are drop-in, and then that's per hour. So now we've got kind of an understanding of the prices on in that landscape, that competitive landscape. And then here's an example of the decision-making criteria that this company used in particular. So they felt that in the minds of parents, or moms specifically, that safety and security was going to be really important. It was going to be an important consideration when do we go to this new company? Do we go to company ABC, right? Is it safe and secure for our kids? So they scored themselves a 4. And right then they started writing out, well, why are we safe and secure? What are all the proof points that defend that 4? Right? Oh, so we do the hourly monitoring. Our ratio for staff to kids is higher than most, right? So they went through all of their proof points to defend the 4. The cleanliness, again, for a lot of moms, they're like, well, how clean is it? Is it dirty and disgusting, or are my kids going to pick anything up, or is it clean? So again, they scored themselves high in here, right? They scored themselves a 4. If you come back down here to the bottom, again, these are all the proof points. So, the products, the monitors, where things are being checked off in the bathroom, the cleanliness checks and wipe downs, right? The fact that it's a brand new facility. So again, they started writing down all of their proof points as we started to defend these scores. Is it a fun and cool place? They wrote down again, they gave themselves a score of 4, and they were able to defend it. Diversity of offerings, they gave themselves a 4, and they were able to defend it. I'll go through all the proof points after. The value, here we do have value for price, and it was just them understanding that this was for the visit, right? And that there was tons of different equipment that the kids could use, different areas, so they scored themselves high there. Their brand position and promise. So in their perspective, what brand position meant to them is how strong is our brand. Now, they had been in business actually for, I think it's about 12 years, but operating just as a rental company. And this is the first time they're moving into a brand new space. So they actually kind of put themselves middle of the road, because they said this new brand, not a lot of people are familiar with us. If they were a brand new company, they probably would have scored themselves down here as a 1. But because they had a reputation, right, they gave themselves some credit for that. But because they don't have a reputation for being in this space, again, that's why they're not a 5. So once you put all your scores together, all you do is add them up. So in this case, the 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3 equals 23. We used 6 pieces of criteria. So we take 23, we divide it by 6. This gives them a score of 3.8. Now, here's what you do down here. Now we come to the weighted pricing model. So when we looked at their competitors, on the low end, it was $10 per visit. On the high end, we had $27 per visit. Now, unfortunately, you guys are going to have to do the math on this because this is not in Excel. How you find these middle numbers, just so you know, 27 plus 10, right, divided by 2 gives you 18.5. To figure this number out, you take 10 plus 18.5 divided by 2, it gives you 14.25. The same on this end, 18.5 plus 27 divided by 2 gives you 22.75. Does that make sense for everybody? I hope so. So now, if we know that this business's score is 3.8 for this product of the drop-in, a 3.8 actually puts them right in around here. Isn't that interesting? Do you recall that they were charging $9 per visit? And now, based on everything that they've said, they should be charging approximately 21, at least in this space of 18.5 to 22.75. So a couple of things that's really important for you, and these are top of mind, I didn't write them down, so I hope they all come to mind here. One is your value proposition. It is really important if you are saying that you are one of the best and strongest companies out there compared to your competition. If your value is supposed to be superior, if you are charging a price that is less than what your competitors are charging, or even the same, do you believe your clients are going to believe you when you say that you're superior to the competition? If you really believed it, you would be a superior price, right? So you have to be in alignment with what it is that you say you are offering. And it's not to say that the lower price products and services don't have a spot. Just look at the dollar store. They are based on volume, right? So they're in the millions, they're publicly traded. They do very, very well on the market, and they are selling things at $1.25. Do we know that the quality is superior? No, but we know that in a bind for all of those things that we don't need for a long time, we just need to get through, whether it's Tupperware or whether it's, you know, dish towels, whatnot, right? That we can go and we can get those things because, yeah, at $1.50, $2, $3 max. Even my daughter was saying, I was noticing their price point, it goes up to $4, even though they say they're a dollar store. But again, it's not about quality, right? But then you can go to a Holt Renfrew and you can go by quality, but they're not selling the same volume. So one is not right and one is not wrong. That's not what this exercise is about. This exercise is about deciding where you fit and being able to defend it, as long as you are not out of pocket. So over the weekend, we started to understand, you started to understand exactly what you were out of pocket, right? So to charge what you're out of pocket is not going to work. You know, typically I have a rule of thumb to even just start, let's double it and see where you end up. But this exercise between knowing your cost of goods and where you are supposed to sit, tell me what shows up for you. In most cases, I find that companies have to start charging more. That has been my experience. They have to start charging more. So I am very curious to see where you are going to sit here. So to finish off this exercise, key messages and proof points. We talked about, so if we know that customers are going to value safety, how do we defend our four? They have hourly safety checks. They have tons of precautions. We actually, I don't know if you guys saw, but 2 weeks ago, there was an article in my news feed about an inflatable flying off in China and 2 kids dying. So they talk about, they pulled out their safety list, and they talk about their 5-point audit that goes on with every piece of equipment that they have on a daily basis to make sure that those things don't happen. Parent and child match verification within their facility. Containment of certain areas for certain age groups. So you don't have 14-year-olds bumping into 2-year-olds, right? Very different dynamic there. Spotless reputation. So they, again, this is where they were able to draw from their history in the rental business, but never an incident, right? It's just been clean, clean, clean. So speaking of clean, cleanliness. So again, I'm not going to go through all the proof points, but this is the work that you need to do. You need to attach these proof points to each one of these areas where you've scored yourself. And if you score yourself in a weaker area, or if you scored yourself a weaker score in one of these areas, there are a number of ways that if you're finding your price needs to come up, this is an area that you know you are going to have to start to strengthen. So I just want to give you a couple of examples, because the examples that we used here in the criteria with respect to safety, security, cleanliness, fun, cool, diversity, value for price, brand proposition, these might not resonate with you. When I am working with a client for the first time, I want to give you some examples of what I usually suggest they start with, and then they can modify if they need to modify them. So one of the things that oftentimes, especially in a service-based business, that a lot of customers will think about are something called soft skills. So soft skills are the people skills, right? It's the bedside manner. It's the thing like attentiveness, customer service, right? Are they listening to me? Are they responding to me? Are they addressing my needs? Do they actually even care what I need? Right? So all of those pieces, the soft skill, usually the people skills that go along with this. So that's usually one that comes up quite frequently. Another one that I see come up quite frequently is hard skills. So these are the technical skills, right? So how many years of education do you have? The certification, the degrees. If you're a mechanic, what kind of cars do you work on? How long have you been working on them, right? So those are all the technical pieces. So soft skills are people pieces, hard skills are technical pieces. Those are quite common. Industry experience, right? So again, how long have you been in this space or in your business? And again, if you score lower on this area, a great way to start strengthening this is to start building an advisory board and bringing on that board people who have decades of experience in this area. That brings up your score. You get to charge more, but you need to use it as a proof point. You see how it all comes together? Very, very cool. Your brand promise. So we talked about this. Are you a low value item and you're selling tons and tons of it, right? So product or service, or are you a high value item and you are, you know, you're selling a few of these services or products, right? But a higher price point. This coaching package is actually a great example, because when I do this entire plan to profit one-on-one, it's $9,000. $9,000, but you get me for 13 sessions. We dig in, we go through all of this together. I take a lot of this heavy lifting off of your plate. You have it for $149, right? $149, it's because there's many of you and you don't get the one-on-one. So the service goes down, right? But you is because you have to do the work. So that's a good example there. And then there's something called your unique selling proposition. So a lot of you feel that you're very unique, and we talked about this earlier. You need to know how you're different from your competition. But are you kind of baseline? Are you not quite so unique, or are you super unique? Is there a lot of noise in your industry about what it is that you do, or are you breaking through into new ground? Now, I just want you to be aware of that pioneering new territory, you can score yourself high there, but I want you to be aware when you start putting together your marketing budget, oftentimes when you are a pioneer and trailblazing new ground, there is a lot of budget that is required to educate the market with respect to what it is that you're doing. Many of you might not be old enough, but when the internet first came along, right, how many search engines were there before Google? There was, oh, someone's going to correct me on this, I know, but I think there was something like 75, if not more, but there were tons of them trying to get out there and in a space that they knew was an inevitable way, an inevitable place that our world, our planet was going to go. But the education needed from moving people to phone and, oh, remember dial-up? Anyways, all of that, right? It takes huge amounts of budget. And then Google comes along. Now everyone's educated and everybody wants the internet and they want a super fast search engine to find what they want to find. Now all the education's done, Google gets to invest lots of money in just advertising their funky brand. So again, there can sometimes be a downside to being pioneer and having a very unique service offering that nobody's touching. I find that too, even in the space of financial empowerment, because it's, especially on the matrix side, because a lot of people just don't even want to talk about numbers, right? There's just layers and layers of shame and secrecy and doubt, and nobody really wants to go there. So good on you for coming out and braving it all. And then the other piece that I want to talk to you about is what's called the pain point. So the pain point is really understanding what kind of solution are you offering to the pain that's out there. So is this a pain where they need to fix it? Is it kind of like do or die, or is it just kind of nice to have, right? Because if it's a do or die and you're solving that, you get to charge a lot more versus, well, it's, you know, it's nice to have and it's a Band-Aid. So an example of this, I remember I was listening to a pitch one time on a young startup, a tech startup, who had come up with QR codes for prescriptions. And this QR code, you would scan the QR code and right away it would take all of the prescriptions that this individual, all the pills and medication that this individual was using, regardless of where they were sourcing it from. And it right away either gave you an alert or it said, no, you're safe to go ahead. So this was for the patient, it wasn't for the pharmacist, because patients sometimes aren't always overly honest and open about what it is that they're in the process of taking. So yeah, and how their pitch deck started, and I forget the exact number, but it was something like, do you know that, you know, 1,630 people die in each province every year because of misread prescriptions or the lack of awareness around mixed use with drugs, so pharmaceuticals. So anyways, there's an example of pain point. So that was a significant pain point. People are dying versus, oh, you've got a scrape on your hand and it might scar. Maybe not such a huge pain point, right? So something to think about there. Okay, that is it, with the exception of one other small little piece today. So once you go through this exercise, I want you at the end of the day to figure out where you are going to sit with respect to what price you are going to charge now for each product and service, because you will know your cost in. So try your cost and double it and see where you sit with respect to here on our weighted pricing model, right? And I'm going to tell you, this client of mine had a really hard time going from $9 to $21. They actually just couldn't do it. So they sat at 14. And, you know, one other piece here is discounting is, discounting I have a hard time with, because discounting price means really that you're discounting value. So if you are not comfortable sitting at this space, there's lots of other ways you can do it. You can say, you know what, our average rate is $21, but because we're new to the community, we would love to, it's a join me rate that is going to be in effect for the first 3 months of us opening. And you know, after that 3 months, then it's going up to this price. So come on in and grab it. If you're a service-based business and you're having a hard time charging, you know, maybe it's $275 an hour, then, you know, what you can do is you can say our typical rate is this, but on your invoice, show the discount, right? To say this is our rate, but because you are a client and because we've done business with you in the past, we would like to honor a discount for you, however it looks. But where you set the bar is what the customer is going to expect. So if you are setting it in this example at $9 and then you decide to go up to 21, you're going to get a lot of resistance, right? So start training your customers, your clients, as to where you anticipate moving. Another piece before I forget, inflation. Inflation goes up every year by at least 2%. You need to be adjusting your prices every year by at least 2%. If not, you're going to come to year 5 and then you're going to have to adjust them by 10%, and customers notice that. Although with that being said, I am going to email, some of you have already seen this from me before, but there's a company out there called Rodan & Fields, yeah, they're a skincare company. And they, again, I think this is the most brilliant piece of communication that I have ever seen issued with respect to a communicating transparently increase in price. So it was just this email, pretty simple, saying you're a valued customer. We want to let you know in advance that our prices are going to go up 6% across our entire portfolio starting March 1st. And I think this was back in January, so lots of time. Why we are doing it is because of the increase in our inputs and because of our commitment to offer you the best quality product. We don't want to compromise on that. So because of that, we have to increase our prices by 6%. You have an option if you feel, you know, please reach out with any questions, or if you feel like this is no longer fit, that's an option too. Please reach out to your representative. But obviously we hope to continue having you as a customer and being able to continue to provide exceptional quality and exceptional service. I thought it was brilliant. So I'm going to share that with you as an example a little later on today. I'll dig it out and I'll forward that off to you. So once you get your price and you've locked in on it, I want you to come back over here. So again, now you're going to go back to your step 3 tab. We're back in our planning to profit worksheets. You're going to go back to forecasting for profit, right? And you already have your revenue streams in because you did this last week. So you put your revenue streams in. And now today, at the end of the day, once you've done this exercise, I just want you to put in the average price for that respective product or service. So in this case, renovations medium, $100,000 on average for a medium-sized project. A large project, $150,000. Renovations extra large, $250,000. Custom homes, $500,000. And forget space rental, because I should have taken that out of there. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Kind of gone through it step by step. I am going to, as always, I'm going to unmute everybody and take your questions. All right. I believe I've unmuted well, I know I've unmuted everybody. I've allowed everyone to weigh in and ask questions, and so I am all yours. Any questions? Crickets. Crickets. Okay. Okay. I'm going to come back to a question here from one of our members just on the interest cost is throwing you off. Yeah, it's back. So we're talking about the equipment template, and it's the interest cost. So actually, Janelle, why don't we, oh, are you there? Do you have a question? No, okay, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
Oh yeah, I got this figured out. Okay, I'm just gonna get that quieter. Yeah, with the equipment one, if you want to talk about that later, to me, I thought that the interest was calculating incorrectly. That's where I was emailing you and thought that it wasn't quite right, but.
I think it's because it looks right. It's because the piece of equipment is so expensive, right? But if you
no, that's not the one that's throwing me off.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
What's throwing you off then? I'm just looking at it. I'm pulling it up right now.
Like when I look at line number 3,
Yes.
that doesn't look right to me at all.
So your equipment costs 4.2. So that's per year. And
like the monthly interest
oh
cost,
yeah, no, you're right. That one is definitely off.
Yeah, it does.
I can't see it on my phone. I'll go in and look at the formula. And these, I wonder if, okay, is Sherry gone? Sherry? No, Sherry's there. I wonder if she, and did you, this is the brand new template, so you didn't cut and paste?
Right, I copied what you had sent on Friday into the into this main spreadsheet a couple times, and I just
okay.
I
so yeah, I wonder.
Right.
Okay, I wonder if there's still a glitch in it. If you just copy the cell in front of it, right? So if you click on that cell, and I can't see what that cell is right now, but if you click on that cell, that's 4,714. And then you click on the little square at the top or the bottom right hand side.
It's the formula.
It's the formula, yeah. And you just drag that formula down. That should fix it.
See, all the ones after have the same formula.
Okay.
I did all that, but then when it goes across, the formula doesn't properly calculate going all the way across to the hourly cost.
Okay.
Because I did all those things that you were just talking about, and it still didn't.
Okay. Sorry. Let me go back and see. I'll go back to the drawing board and try to fix that again. Sherry, did you find a fix for that or no?
No.
No. Okay. Let me go back and see what I did. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a question. So in the oil industry, the customers are very much weighted on price the last few years. So that causes a bit of a challenge when it comes to adjusting price, right?
Absolutely. So I know that, so in my experience with oil, especially if you're working with some of the bigger players, yes, they are going to dictate what it is that they're willing to spend, right? And, or what they're willing to pay on your product or service. So different workarounds in the past is that we've always worked on what our anticipated price per oil is going to be so that our fuel costs don't get impacted by that. And the other piece then too is to make sure that when you're doing this pricing strategy, to make sure that your terms of that price are effective for a certain period of time only. Right? So as prices start to fluctuate, you get to go back to the drawing board and go back to them to say, you know what, here's our new price because of these inputs. So just like Rodan and Fields, these inputs have all changed. Here's what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't start charging the price you need to charge, then your business goes under anyways, right? If there's also ways that if some of the bigger clients aren't prepared, because I'm not going to use company names, but I know there's a handful of oil and gas, especially if we're smaller and we're selling to one of these bigger companies. Again, there's lots of demands, but this is where you can start to negotiate volume with them. So we're going to honor this price, but here's the volume you need to commit to for us to be able to do that.
Yep, that makes sense.
The other workaround that I have experienced in this space is looking for ways to diversify your offering. So instead of being held hostage by one specific industry, what can you start to do? Where can you start to diversify with other industry sectors? So I know, when I've worked in the trucking industry where they were doing hauling or pipeline, it ended up changing that they started to support forestry and they started to support agriculture and they started to support community development that was actually building pipelines and infrastructure within communities. So it's slow, right? And right now it's probably 90% or 100% of your revenue is coming from one industry. But if you slowly start to diversify that offering, you will build in a buffer so that when when oil goes down, right, you still have this other area that you can start to strengthen on the back end.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. I think too, just looking for ways, I know again, you know, when I was working with some of these other companies, the things that they weren't charging for, right? Like the pipe yard storage and the unloading of the pipe and all this sort of stuff. It was like, why aren't you charging for any of that? And the security that goes on. So just even taking a look at your complete offering and making sure that, you know, that all of the inputs that you have in there, that everything's getting billed out proportionately.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Other questions? All right.
Tanya, when everyone's done with their questions, I think I do know what's wrong with this.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Take you up on that. So any other, Nikki, do you have any questions or was everything answered for you earlier? You can just give me a, yeah.
Oh, I probably have questions after I get looking at it closer.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm always in early, right? So normally I try to get on at about, what are we, 11? I try to get on about 10:30, 10:40 for sure. So you can always jump on lots of time ahead of time for questions. All right. Okay, Sherry, hit me with my formula error.
The other person that you were talking to that noticed this problem,
Yeah.
and you said just to drag those formulas down.
Yeah.
So I did that for the monthly, no, the annual interest didn't need to be changed.
Okay.
The monthly did not, but the monthly principal cost, that's where there was a mistake. So I drew that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, monthly interest cost and the monthly principal both need to be changed. But then when I went across to total monthly cost, and if you look at the formula in the first, in line 8 and line 9, it's just the addition of those costs from annual interest to monthly insurance.
Okay.
But in the third, in line 10, they're dividing it by 12. And it shouldn't be, because it's a monthly cost, not a yearly cost, divided by 12. So I think, again, you need to drag the formula in column L
Okay.
down to the bottom again, because everyone after that is dividing it by 12. And if it's a monthly cost, we shouldn't be dividing it by 12, correct?
That is absolutely correct. So yes, okay. So drag that.
That one, I drug that one down, all the way down to the bottom. Now the next one I hadn't looked at yet. So you're adding L8 to 24.
This one.
Or dividing it by 24. Why is it dividing it by 24?
Because on average, there's 24 work days within the month.
Oh, okay. So that one I think is all right then, because it really, when I changed those other columns, the monthly interest and the principal, it took, my hourly cost on one piece of equipment was $1.60 or some bloody thing. Or yeah, and I knew that one right. So I think that was part of the error. And is she still on?
Is Janelle? Yep, Janelle's still here.
So I think, Janelle, tell me if, can she hear me?
Well, she's we can try her. She can definitely hear you. Whether she can weigh in or not is up to as to her with her mic.
Okay. I think where she didn't see the carry across, if I understand what she was saying, was under the monthly principal cost.
Yeah.
Is that not carrying across for her?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, because there's no formula down here, right? Like it's missing completely.
I was just copying some of those formulas, but yeah, it was you're right, the monthly interest cost had a totally different formula in it. It was some kind of average.
It was different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I copied that across.
if you drag the monthly cost down and,
Yeah.
because the first two lines, the formulas are right.
Yes,
Or you double check that.
I did. Yeah,
Tanya, to make sure those two are right. And then the monthly principal cost, I drug that one down also to change it. And the total monthly cost column L, the first two are right, the rest were divided by 12, which would throw everything off because we don't want it divided by 12. So I drug that one down too. And from what I can see, everything else is right.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
it. So I'm going to go through a couple, but you're right. It was missing a formula in the monthly principal.
Yeah,
It was missing that formula. It was missing the formula in the monthly interest.
yes.
And then, yeah, and then it was dividing by 12 in your total monthly.
monthly cost was not right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to go through for all of these lines now and just quadruple check it to make sure that
Yeah.
5. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, ladies. Sorry about that.
No worries.
no problem.
This is
One
what you
question.
get when you try a pilot challenge.
One question, Tanya. I have a
Yes.
piece of equipment that we bought outright.
Yeah,
Do I just put the amount in the original value, no interest?
that's
and
right.
but don't I have to put something in the year to make it calculate?
Yeah, but I would just put it the lifespan, right? So it's either the years of the loan or the lifespan of that piece of equipment before you have to repurchase it. So it's going to give us, yeah, okay.
Because it could last a long time.
Perfect. Good. Yeah, the longer it lasts, obviously, the less, the less you need to recoup, the
Yeah.
more time you have to recoup. Sorry. That's what I'm trying to say there. Okay. Well, thanks for bringing this to my attention. I'm going to,
On loan, but they're paid for now.
okay.
Sorry.
Perfect. No, you're right. So
and
even if it's,
If it's paid for now, they were paid for last 3 pieces in last November. So
Yeah.
then again, I should just put their years, their lifespan.
right. So for example, like, let's say it's $250,000, right? And what, 25 years maybe?
Yeah, depending. I have to ask.
Okay. And then, but 0 interest, right? So there's no interest, there's no interest cost,
Right.
right? So that's coming up. And then so no monthly, but there is a monthly principal depending on how many years that you can use it, right? So it's basically saying, I know this is saying principal, but it's basically saying that $833 is what you are investing every month to have that piece of equipment,
Okay.
right? If there's any maintenance or insurance. And so
There's
again,
insurance.
there is insurance, okay?
There is. It's just a trailer.
Okay.
And
well, let's-
I mean, tires is maintenance. Like
Okay.
there's not a lot.
Right. So yeah, I think everything, so that's coming up solid then. So that's like per month, that piece of equipment is costing you $883.33.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That works for me. Now, we have a piece of equipment that got wrote off last year. I shouldn't even enter it.
Probably not, because insurance, this is also why, this is also why we want to make sure we make as much money on each piece of equipment as we can, because if you do need to write it off for whatever reason, then your chances of making that money back on the investment are gone, right? Although
Yes.
the value of that you're getting back in a way, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So sorry about that glitch. I'll get that fixed and I'll send out a new one. Or you can always just tweak it in your formula here.
I have, but if you send out a new one, I think that would be good just to make sure it is right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you bet. I'm going to do that now. And I will put in the email, just again, some of these sample criteria that I keep coming up with, or I keep seeing: the soft skills, hard skills, industry experience, brand promise, USP and pain point. I'll put that in the email.
Okay.
And does it help? Would it help if I sent out the copy of the example or no?
Example
Of the weighted pricing model?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
I'll put that in too.
And I'm going to have an issue with this one because I don't know our customers' prices. Every oil company has a rate sheet. And unless you're a customer, you don't have their rate sheet. And it's not something they put on their website.
Interesting.
I was
Okay.
thinking the same thing.
And you don't know a couple of key competitors, roughly where they sit?
Nope.
No.
See, in our industry, it's all based on bid, right? So to have an actual price will vary, depends on what the project is.
Right, so this we're gonna do separately for each project, right?
Yes, we have to do it by project.
Yeah, you've got to do it by project or by product or by service, however, so we're separating these out.
For example, for me, a small project would be one hoe, one operator, one truck, possibly a cat is probably that's a small project. A medium project is going to have 2 hoes, picker truck, job trailer, 2 operators, a superintendent. That's how I will do them.
How you do it. So I'm curious, when have either of you lost bids in the past?
Yes.
Yeah, we've only done 3 bids since we started, and we lost 2.
Okay,
But in the end, we were really glad we lost them because there were issues with both. One was, and we knew the first one that it had, it was, oh, what's the word I want? Organic land. So you have to wash your equipment coming on and leaving. So that's another huge expense.
mhm.
And they undercut us by a lot, and they had lots and lots of issues. And I know they lost money.
So
In the other job, they didn't account for the rock in the ground, which makes it way harder to dig. And they
right.
lost the shirt on that one too.
So sometimes, so I think, sometimes we do have some indication as to what might have been charged in the past, but also to call those potential customers that you lost to, and to just say, here's who we are, and I don't know how much time. If they remember you, great. If they don't, you can just
They do, because they do all their work.
And just say, you know what, we're just in the middle of strategizing and really trying to figure out how we provide the best value and the best service to customers like you in the market. And would you be willing to share with us the price ranges and the various services that were in line with those prices, so that we can get a better sense of where we're standing in the market, and tell them they don't need to share customer names with you, or business names.
Even if they would send us rate sheets without names.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just looking for numbers. Yeah.
The one thing for us, our biggest customer, we get all their work up until they're a very, very large project where their head office wants it bid on. It just gets given to us, all their work.
So yeah, you're very lucky for that. Yeah. Definitely. It's important too that you make sure you know why that is, and then also to build relationships across multiple tiers, right? So
I know why it is.
Okay.
Because our operators have been not working for them through other companies for 20 years.
Right. So it's usually always relationship based, right?
Yes.
Why people. So what's important at this point too is that you build relationships both horizontally and vertically, right? So that you protect the integrity of that relationship. So should different stakeholders come in and out of that organization, you still have relationships. And also at the same time, starting to build up some redundancy in other areas, because if you ever were to lose that business, you want to make sure that you've got some strength in other areas and potentially different industries as well, right? So again,
it's not just that. We have 2. I mean, one is the most, where you get the most work, and then there's another one that we get all their work, but they're not as big.
Right.
And then there's a new kid on the block, so to speak, that's telling us that we're going to be getting their work also.
Beautiful. So yeah, always,
that's all by reputation.
Beautiful. And so yeah, figuring out why, right? So what is it about your reputation that brings in that business?
Years of experience and knowing the consultant and his bosses.
Awesome. So those pieces, Sherry, are great examples of your proof points. So oftentimes with proof points too, using quantifiable data, right? So instead of just years of experience, how many years and of what experience specifically, right? When you talk about relationships with who, right? So just making sure that you can use those proof points and use those advantages with other clients as well. And you bring up a good point just about head office, because I've seen this quite oftentimes within the oil and gas specifically, because there are a lot of relationships that account for a lot of business. When you get new leadership in to an oil and gas business, one of the very first things they do across the board is scrap all the existing business. We start from scratch, and we make everybody prove their validity to us, right? Like, why are they the company? So these little examples of where companies will ask you to bid on projects that are larger than X they're actually amazing exercises for you to value your products and services, right? To know why are you deserving of that business, right? So just, again, making sure that we're learning from all of that to protect you going forward. All right, great discussion.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I think I'm good.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks for that formula fix again, too. Good
No
Lord.
problem.
All right. I appreciate it. I'll get that new one off to everybody. Yep. Everyone knows where to find me if you have any questions. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye for now.